And they can do more than that. What Chukchi girls are able to surprise American people. Greetings! Today, we will talk about the resilience and amazing abilities of girls from the northern people of Russia, the Chukchi. You will learn what do the inhabitants of the tundra in 30-degree frost without mittens on their hands. Is it true that women in labor do not use medical services and even cut the umbilical cord themselves? And why wife swapping is welcomed among Chukchi and what it means. Be sure to read the material to the very end so as not to miss interesting facts from the life of this people. Adaptation to harsh climatic conditions, labor and cooking. Surely you are already well aware of what the tundra and surrounding areas in the north of our country are. This is permafrost with air temperatures from 30 degrees Celsius and below. Fortunately, such conditions have not become an obstacle to the life activity of the Chukchi. The people over the years have successfully adapted to everyday climatic conditions. But most of all, girls and women are able to surprise with their resilience. They are not afraid of neither hunger nor cold. As for the latter, many researchers and scientists from Russia are still amazed. How in 30-degree frost an ordinary-looking girl without mittens does sewing? And the whole secret is that these people are already so adapted that they do everyday activities in the fresh air. And the snow is used directly for its intended purpose. In order not to sweat during hard work, the girl puts it behind her sinuses. Sometimes it is possible to see that female representatives of the female sex walk half undressed. This practice also takes place in the northern people, because the hardiness of such girls can be envied. And also, girls and women, Chukchi work hard. Can you imagine for a moment that they go without sleep for up to 2 or 3 days? In addition to cooking and sewing, it is very important to clean up the Yaranga, Chukchi dwelling, feed the reindeer or dogs, and, if necessary, welcome guests. Interesting fact, because the diet of the Chukchi consists mainly of meat products, meat is consumed by this people even in raw form. It is almost impossible for an average person to imagine how brains and entrails can be eaten without heat treatment. Nevertheless, the Chukchi see nothing wrong with it. It is quite normal for them. In addition to hot drinks, you can find alcohol in the stock of the Chukchi. Yes, these people also drink alcohol, which, by the way, can treat guests or close people. From eyewitness accounts, it follows that arriving guests were treated with almost a whole box of alcohol. Naturally, not just one guest, but in the circle of all gathered. In addition, tobacco smoking is widespread among the people. How the Chukchi give birth. So, the long-awaited moment has come to learn about the key features of childbirth in the Chukchi. They will certainly surprise you. Well, let's go through them in order. First, women in labor do not use the usual medical services. Far from civilization, Chukchi girls have learned to give birth on their own up to cutting the umbilical cord. They do not need midwifery and midwives. Only in extremely severe cases, an experienced woman can come to their aid. But again, the independent acceptance of labor comes first. Secondly, the woman in labor is strictly forbidden to moan and express aloud suffering in the process of labor. Otherwise, such actions are regarded as weakness and inferiority of a Chukchi girl. This tradition has existed for many years. Thirdly, the wide pelvis of the female body indicates the fertility and endurance of the girl, and this, in turn, indicates a healthy fetus in the womb. That is why future grooms and husbands should first of all compliment the pelvis. And then look at the appearance and other qualities of their bride and future wife. Family life of the northern people. Separately, it is worth touching on the topic of family life of the Chukchi, which is also capable of surprising many people. Well, let's get started. Girls who plan to become wives must understand the main rule. From now on, they must do a lot of housework and show no signs of fatigue. This is what we had in mind when we spoke at the beginning about the daily female occupations of 2 to 3 days without sleep or rest. The next thing to which we would like to draw attention is polygamy. Various historical data collected over many decades point to the truth of this phenomenon. Such a luxury could afford mainly wealthy men. Jealousy between girls or women in such a circle was not welcomed at all. The so-called temporary exchange of wives was also widespread among the Chukchi. Its essence is as follows. Two men, who are each other's best friends, exchange their wives for a while. This process is based on a contract, and there is no waiver at all. In case one of the men refused, such an act became nefarious. You will be shocked, but even the oldest man in his tribe could easily give his wife to a guest. This is evidenced by the stories of eyewitnesses who had to visit the north of Russia for their work. The Chukchi gladly welcomed new visitors to their land and then treated them with spices and drinks. But when night fell in the Yarang, the guest clearly did not expect such a thing from the elder. The latter allowed him to be alone with his wife, who was practically unclothed at that moment. In the northern people, there are known cases of adult men having intimate relations with girls, who in turn had not yet reached the age of puberty, rounded breasts. Chukchi despised such male representatives, and if a girl became pregnant, she was given an unpleasant nickname, Mother Heifer. In this case, the man who became the biological father was forced to marry his beloved. Have you ever seen Chukchi rubbing the tips of their noses against each other? This phenomenon is widespread among the Chukchi and has a peculiar name, Eskimo kiss. This is how men and women demonstrate their warm feelings. Of course, there are other versions that explain this phenomenon. Many believe that so Chukchi prevent frostbite lips and tongues, as well as warm each other. Therefore, the classic kiss is not peculiar to the northern people. In reality, it means, smell me. Chukchi show thereby their affection and express warm feelings. Some peculiarities of the dialect among the female population. It is contraindicated for female representatives to pronounce the letters R and K in some words. Instead of them, Z and Ts are used respectively. Scientists still cannot solve this mystery. However, according to the generally accepted version, such peculiarities of the dialect of girls and women, Chukchi are connected with religion and generally accepted traditions of the people. Struggle with foreigners. Finally, it is worthwhile to speak separately about the military theme. In addition to their main occupations, Chukchi girls can also resist the raids of ill wishers. Therefore, at a young age, they are trained on an equal footing with boys. The female representatives of the female sex perfectly master various kinds of weapons: axes, spears, bows. Unforeseen circumstances made it clear that you need to be ready for anything. If the enemy still defeated the Chukchi tribe and there were no men left, women sacrificed the most valuable things. They got rid of their own children, and then they themselves went to the next world. The northern people believed that if you surrender to the enemy, you can disgrace your honor and dignity once and for all. Conclusion. Thus, girls and women from the northern peoples of Russia do not cease to amaze even today. Chukchi fully demonstrated their abilities and skills even in the most difficult moment. Being reindeer herders, hunters and nomads, they are in the center of attention of experienced researchers and scientists of Russia.